Let me just reemphasize what Monty said about Vacation Bible School and about what Joel prayed over our school for. There is nothing more important that we do throughout the year than this time that we focus on children. Every great empire throughout history that has taken over from an existing empire has done so by focusing on children. If we look at the Third Reich before World War II, two of their key things was the Children's Corps that was started in the public schools and private schools in Germany, and then the Youth Corps that Hitler actually furnished uniforms for. But these were two primary things that he used to emphasize his beliefs. Our kids are being bombarded by so many different beliefs and so many different thought platforms. We need to make sure that they hear the truth from us. This is our chance. So if it's not on your prayer list every night, write it down so that every day you're praying for Vacation Bible School here. The other thing is Mission Dignity Sunday. Next Sunday will be a special offering for Mission Dignity. This is for pastors and their families who were unable to plan for retirement. Pastors joke about it all the time, that churches pray, Lord, you keep them humble, we'll keep them poor. But for decades, that was true. For decades, that was true. So a lot of these folks have gotten to this point in their life, and they do not have the financial support to continue. The other thing that I want to mention is next Sunday right here, besides being our kickoff Sunday for Vacation Bible School, we're going to have baptism. We're going to have baptism. So come and enjoy and be a part of that as well. 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 13 and 14. His servants approached and said to him, My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more should you do it when he only tells you, wash and be clean? So Naaman went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, according to the command of the man of God. Then his skin was restored, and became like the skin of a small boy, and he was clean. 7 ducks in a river. You know, most parents don't expect complete and instant obedience from their children, ever. When we were expecting our first child, and this was before the days of when you knew what it was going to be, you know, so we had no earthly idea, except it's going to be either a boy or a girl. But Sharon said, now we'll have to baby-proof the house. We'll have to put everything up. You know, we'll have to put plugs in all the outlets and all that sort of stuff. I said, we don't need to do that. We'll teach him not to mess with it. And so when Jeff was about 2 years old, he would start heading for something that he knew he wasn't supposed to get, saying, no, 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 no. You know, it didn't stop him from getting it. But, you know, but we do expect obedience. And we exact that obedience by either respect or love or discipline. And it takes all three of those. There is a difference between discipline and abuse. There is a difference. Now, I know I don't criticize anybody else's parenting skills. I never, ever counted for my children. I never said, I'm going to count to 3. If they didn't do it the first time, But the second time I was on them. I'm sorry if you don't approve of that. That's just the way it was. No belts. I like the keen hickory switch. And it worked. It worked. And I do believe in the scriptural point that says if you spare the rod, you despise your child. Our point today is this. God deals with complete, if not instant, obedience. Now, for reference, think about Jonah. I mean, Jonah did not want to obey God. Went to great lengths not to have to. And in the end, did obey God, and God's will was served. This is a similar story, but it's so much more fun. Naaman was a leper. Now, leprosy primarily affects the skin, the peripheral nervous system, which causes fingers and toes to actually die, and also the lining of your nose and upper respiratory tract. So it affects your breathing. It is highly contagious still today. Highly contagious. It is treatable today. But in Naaman's time, well, you know, we hear somebody having ALS today. We know they have a limited amount of time. In Naaman's time, the leper was in the same boat. Someone with leprosy was doomed to die with that disease. And the law of Moses is full of how you should deal with a leper. When a leper came into the presence of other people, before they ever came close, they were supposed to scream, unclean, 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 so that everybody could avoid them. Everybody could avoid them. If a leper was cleansed, remember when Jesus cleansed them, he said, go and show yourself to the priest. Because oddly enough, once in a while, it was not a complete death sentence. But Naaman had leprosy. In the land of Syria, where he was general or commander, it was not against the law to be in amongst people with leprosy. So he rose up to the highest rank in the army, or a very, very high rank in the army, and he going on raids. You see, at this time, Syria was here. I'm not talking about geographically, I'm talking about in power. Israel was here. So Israel paid tribute to Syria to keep themselves safe. That did not prevent Syria from once in a while doing a military exercise into Israel and taking a few captives. Okay? So Naaman had done that, brought back a young Israeli girl to his home. She quickly became a part of the home. Naaman undoubtedly was a fine fellow. You know, we don't have anything wrong to say about Naaman as far as this goes. This girl obviously admired he and his wife, because when she saw that he was leprous, she told his wife if he would only go and see the prophet that is in Samaria, because he could handle leprosy. So Naaman, his wife tells Naaman, Naaman tells the king. So the king of Syria sends Naaman with, now if you want to read the first few verses, here's what it says: 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, 10 Brooks Brothers suits. No, that's not there. But in today's cost, in today's value, 750 pounds of silver would be worth $327,330. 150 pounds of gold would be worth $3,728,808. And 10 Brooks Brothers suits would be worth $23,250, making a grand total of $4,079,388.00. I bet that's more than Aaron's doctor charged him. Yeah. Right expensive doctor visit. Naaman must have been well thought of. I mean, it wasn't worth that then, but it was worth a great deal. So Naaman leaves Syria. He comes to Samaria, which is the capital city of Israel, the northern kingdom, and he goes to the castle where he stands before King Jehoram. And he says, I brought all these gifts for you to heal me of leprosy. Jehoram says, what in the world are you talking about, boy? I don't have no healing. He goes back into his room. He tears his clothes. He says to his advisors, this is just a pretext. The king of Syria is wanting to come against us with war. They're wanting to overcome us totally, even though we've already sent our tribute in. He's trying to use this. And then he gets word from Elisha. And Elisha says, send him to me. Now you remember Elisha. He was a disciple of Elijah. And he said, I want to receive double of your spirit. And Elijah told him, well, if you see me depart, then that will mean you've gotten double. If not, then you won't receive it. And he did. He saw the chariot of fire. He saw the whirlwind. He saw Elijah ascend. And so he received a double portion of his spirit. He's also the one that was bald-headed. And he placed a curse on some boys who were making fun of him because he was bald. And 2 she-bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. So, if you don't believe it, it's in chapter 5. But, this is a man who didn't mess around. And so Jehoram says, I'll gladly send him to you. Naaman with all of his entourage, and that's a fun word, isn't it? If you watch TV, you've learned that word, entourage. And all the gifts, and they came to Elisha's home. Now, Naaman expected a little more than he got. When he got there, Elisha sent his servant Gehazi out and said, tell him to go dip himself in the Jordan 7 times, and he'll be healed. So Gehazi went out, told Naaman that, went right back into the house. Naaman was a little bothered. Yeah. He said, are not the rivers in Damascus just as good as the Jordan? Why can't I go and bathe there? Why can't I go and use that water? And he expected some kind of ceremonial mumbo jumbo, with a hocus pocus and an abracadabra thrown in so that he would see, the power immediately. And his servant said, Master, that's really the word, not Father. Master, if the prophet had told you to go climb the highest mountain around, or if he had told you to go and swim the sea, or if he had told you to go fight a lion barehanded, you would have done it, wouldn't you? You would have done it. Why can't you just try this? So he did. He went to the Jordan. Now you've got to understand, the Jordan River is muddy a great deal of the time. It's muddy a great deal of the year. It's not clear every day. It's not like many of our mountain streams around here. And when he got to the Jordan, I don't know if he took off all of his clothes or if he just went in with clothes on. He probably took off at least part of them. Waded into the river, and he went down, and he came up, and there was no change. Don't you know he looked? See if something had gone away. So he went down second time. Went down a leper. Came back up a leper. No change. No change. How about you? Would you have gone down the third time? Would you have done that? Naaman did. On dip 3, he went down a leper. Came up a leper. No change. Can't you hear him? This isn't working. This is not working. And that know-it-all servant said, he said 7 times. Dip 4. He went down a leper. He came up a leper. No change. I'm coming out. This is ridiculous. This muddy water can't be healthy. Master, you just got 3 more. Go ahead and do them fast and get them over with. Dip 5. He went down a leper. He came up a leper. No change. Don't you think I should be showing a little improvement now? I mean, I've been in that. This is the 5th time. It looks like if it was going to do anything, it would do it now. He said 7, Master. Dip 6. Down a leper. Up a leper. No change. I'm going to be the laughing stock of the entire Syrian army. Because when we get back to Syria, they're going to tell that I went and ducked myself in this river 7 times and nothing happened. When I get out of this, I'm going to go skin that prophet alive. It's just 1 more, Master. Dip 7. He went down a leper. He came up. Glory be to God and praise his name. There wasn't any more leprosy. He was not a leper anymore. That 7th duck is what caused it to all happen. You understand, it wasn't the number. If Elisha had said 3 times or 12 times, it wasn't the number. It was the obedience that caused the disease to go away. Complete obedience. God operates in complete obedience. Jesus prayed in the garden, Lord, if it be possible, Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet nonetheless, not my will, but thine be done. Complete obedience led Jesus from that garden to the courtyard of Caiaphas, led him to Pilate, led him to the cross, led him to that death, led him to that tomb, and led him to that resurrection. Complete obedience. Complete obedience. This is what we miss so many times. Yeah. Well, this will be good enough. Have you ever said that? This will be good enough. And we do that more with the Lord than we do with anything else. We do that more with him. We say, this will be good enough. God, this will be good enough for you. This is all right. Instead of the first fruits that I have, I'm going to give you the 5th. Instead of the best that I've got, I'm going to give you the leftovers. Instead of the greatest thing that I've got to give to you, I'm going to give you my least important thing. Do we understand? God deals in complete obedience. There was a man by the name of Abraham who had a son, Isaac, whom he loved, Scripture says. God said to Abraham, take your son Isaac, your only son Isaac, and go to a place that I will show you. There offer him a sacrifice to me. And Isaac was the promise that God had made to Abraham. And Isaac was the covenant that God had made with Abraham. He was saying, sacrifice everything that I've told you you're supposed to have and give it back to me. You know the story. Abraham, Isaac set off. They come to a mountain, and there they set up an altar. And Abraham binds Isaac and places him on the altar. And with a knife raised in his hand, God stays his hand. Do we understand complete obedience? I'm not sure we have that concept. Not sure we have that concept. Job said, even though he would slay me, yet will I praise him. God demands our best and our all. Naaman could have walked out of that river any time and remained a leper. But when he obeyed God, he came out clean. Now, what we've got to understand is this. Did Naaman really believe he was going to be healed? I don't think so. I don't think he did. But God healed him anyway. God's will is not based on our belief. Not for his church, not for his children, not for his eternity. It's not based on whether we believe it or we have faith in it. It's based on his power and our obedience. We walk by faith and not by sight, but we obey because we choose to. The question today is, how obedient will you be to God? How obedient will you be? Hey, maybe he's speaking to you about something he wants you to do. Maybe he's talking to you about some ministry he wants you to perform. Maybe he's talking to you about coming and being part of his family, or that you need to walk closer to him, or that you need to move to this church and be a part of this church. But will you be obedient to him? There's the question. You're the only one with the answer to that. So will you obey God today as we stand to sing?
Let's sing